Hi everyone! In this video we're going to practice more with odds in relation to the example where we're trying to figure out the probability of getting exactly 2 heads when tossing the same coin 3 times. We figured out the probability of getting exactly 2 heads was 3/8, where 3 were the favorable outcomes, and the favorable outcomes in this case would be exactly 2 heads, and the 8 is the total possible outcomes. If we want to know the odds in favor of getting exactly 2 heads when tossing the same coin 3 times, the first value we would write down is getting exactly 2 heads on the left, and we're going to compare that to as a ratio not getting exactly 2 heads. Well, notice getting exactly 2 heads is our favorable outcome. So on the left, we're going to have 3. And on the right, not getting exactly 2 heads. Well, let's remind us of all of the values in the total possible outcomes. And we'll notice that we had heads, 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 tails, heads, tails, heads, and so on. I'll finish writing them all down for you here on the left. And notice here, even still, remembering that odometer method of writing down all the possible outcomes is really helpful, even in doing odds. Again, it's a small collection of values here, so it's not that time intensive. So getting exactly 2 heads are these 3 values here, and not getting exactly 2 heads would be everything else. And that's 5 values here. Where does that 5 come from? Well, 5 is really just 8 minus 3. And I know this seems straightforward for some of us, but what that means is to get the opposite of the favorable outcomes, the not favorable outcomes, you're really just looking for the total possible outcomes minus the favorable outcomes. And on the left side of this ratio, we have the favorable outcomes. Just putting that home again, when you're looking at odds in favor, on the left side of the ratio, you have favorable outcomes. And on the right side of the ratio, you have not favorable outcomes. That's how you would write odds in favor. But what if you wanted to write 5 to 3? What would 5, let's separate this real quick. What would 5 compared to 3 mean? Well, 3 is favorable outcomes, 5 is not favorable outcomes. So we're just flipping everything around. The opposite of in favor would be not in favor. So 5 to 3 in this example is odds not in favor. And this is not in favor of getting exactly 2 heads when you're flipping a coin 3 times. The more traditional phrase that might be used here is odds against. And you'll say odds against getting exactly 2 heads. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day.